My name is Teresa. My channel is all about safe food preservation, cooking, gardening, and just having fun. I am making today some beef in a red wine sauce. Just the sound of it sounds absolutely delicious, and it is as good as it sounds, trust me. Even if summer is over, even if most of the canning season is done, there's still things that we can do in the kitchen. It's time to have fun with canning. Once the big rush of summer, the tomatoes and the green beans and everything that you want to get done in your garden, it's time to have fun in the kitchen. It's time to have fun and to experiment with your canning. And this is one of these recipes that I like to do because I like to have quick meals that are easy to prepare. One of my all-time favorites is canned chicken. I know it doesn't sound appealing, but you gotta trust me. If you have never tried canned chicken, you gotta give it a try. I do have a video, be sure to check that out. I go through all the steps on how to can your chicken, and I even show a couple of meal prep ideas and show you how tender it is at the end. So be sure to check out that video. So having that beef in that red wine sauce in your pantry is going to become a staple. It's a quick meal to pull out when you just don't feel like cooking or you want a quick meal. You can prepare a side, have some rice if you have some leftover rice or leftover potatoes, and just serve this up. It'll be really quick and easy to make. So let's get started. I know what you're thinking. This looks like a lot of ingredients, but trust me, it's really not that much prep work. For this recipe, you need 1 cup of sliced carrots, 1 cup of peeled, cored, shredded apples, 3/4 of a cup of sliced onion, half a cup of red wine, garlic, bouillon cubes, and 2 pounds of beef. Some browning sauce, half a teaspoon. What else do I have here? Bay leaves, so 2 bay leaves per recipe. And I threw in some thyme because I just love thyme. And what else do I have here? Did I say the carrots? So basically this is what the recipe consists of. Now one recipe, like I said, of those ingredients, and I will put in the description below the recipe, makes 3 500 milliliter size jars, or so 3 pint size jars. Now I don't want to do just 3 pint size jars because I always like to do as much as I can to make sure that I've got as many jars as I can in my canner. So I have 8 pounds of meat, 4 cups of carrots, 3/4 of a cup of onion times 4, 8 cloves of garlic, 4 cups of carrot. I forgot one of the important ingredients, wine. So there's half a cup of wine per recipe. So I have 2 cups of wine. So I'm just doing everything times 4 basically, just so I can make a bigger batch because I didn't want to just can 3 jars. So it's really simple. All we need to do is to brown the meat and then add all the rest of the ingredients together and then boil everything for an hour. Now the first step we need to do is to get that meat browning. So we got quite a bit to do, so let's get that started. I've added all my ingredients except for the beef and the browning sauce in a pot. There's also water in there, and like I say, I will include the entire recipe in the description below. One thing I also added was half a teaspoon of salt per recipe, so 4 teaspoons of salt. And remember, we're going to be canning this, so it has to be your pickling salt or your sea salt, not your regular table salt. Never use regular table salt. And I've got my meat browning here in a pan. So as it's browning, I'm going to transfer it over to another bowl until I've got this warmed up and I'm able to taste it to make sure that it's seasoned exactly the way I want it to be. So browning your meat just consists of just starting the cooking process. So we want to brown it on all sides and then transfer it. These are all the ingredients of the sauce, just starting to warm up here in my pot. And I have my meat here that has started browning in my pan. So we just kind of turn this over to try to brown all sides. It's really just a quick cook, like I said. Look at this beautiful pot of boiling vegetables and fruit. I wish you could smell it. It smells absolutely wonderful, and I've tasted it and it tastes nice. I think the seasonings were just right with the recipe, so I don't feel like I need to season it more. So I am done browning the meat. I am going to add it to this sauce. Start with the one in the pan, so my bowl was full. So now all that's left to do is to let this simmer for about an hour. It's been cooking now for about half hour. And I have to tell you, I'm not one to brag, and I don't want to be dramatic, but this sauce is incredible. You gotta taste. So it's been boiling for an hour. It hasn't disappointed. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm quite excited about the way it turned out. The sauce is really thick, thick. It's not like a gravy, but mind you, it's almost like an au jus consistency, like when you have like beef au jus, or I think it's probably because the apples cooking down has really helped to create a thicker consistency for the sauce. The only thing left to do is to add the browning and seasoning sauce inside and to give it a stir. And don't forget, we need to remove the bay leaves. No, you can't come up. Luna's visiting again. She likes to be part of the action, but not while I'm cooking. So I've got my canner heating up over there on the stove. My jars are heating up inside of my canner. So all that's left to do is to put this sauce inside of the jars and to process them. It's as simple as that. So let's go get those jars. So we want to fill our jars, leaving a generous 1-inch headspace. So always leaving the headspace at the top of the jar to make sure that they are able to process properly. I'll adjust the liquids after. As usual, you want to make sure to remove the air bubbles. If you're unfamiliar with pressure canning, be sure to check out my video. I do have a video that goes into a lot more detail than I do in these videos, just to try to keep them shorter. And it really goes through the steps of pressure canning. So as usual, when we're dealing with any kinds of meats, you want to wipe the top of your rim off, not with water, but with vinegar. The vinegar helps break down the fat and helps ensure that we get a proper seal. So always wipe down with vinegar when you're dealing with meat. Then we just put on our caps. And the rings are just fingertip tight. And once your rims are on nice and fingertip tight, we transfer them over back to the canner and proceed to fill all our jars until they're all full. I ended up with 9 bottles. I was hoping for more, closer to 12, because I did do everything times 4, but that's okay. I'll know for next time. I will make most definitely a lot more because it is that good. So all that's left to do is to put our cover on and start the processing. So we put the cover on, turn the heat up almost to maximum, and we got to bring this to a boil. The button has come up. I've got a good steam of stream. So now I'm going to vent the pot for 10 minutes. The pot has vented for 10 minutes. So now all that's left to do is put the weighted gauge on and build the pressure. Remember, you always need to adjust the pressure based on the altitude that you live in and as well for the processing time. I need to bring the pot here, for me, in my altitude, up to 11 pounds of pressure before I can start timing. Once I hit 11 pounds of pressure, then I begin timing the 75 minutes for processing. I've reached 11 pounds of pressure now, so I can start timing for 75 minutes. Now that the timer has finished, what needs to happen? I need to let the dial go down to 0 and wait for the button to drop. Once that happens, I can remove the weighted gauge and then I time 10 minutes. After that 10 minutes, I can remove the cover. But I still have to wait another 10 minutes after that before I can remove the jars. We have to follow the process. We can't skip any steps. So the 10 minutes are up. We can now safely remove the cover and nothing is going to explode. Remember, we got to wait another 10 minutes, then we can remove them from the pot. There you have it. In my opinion, 9 incredible jars of beef in a wine sauce, in a red wine sauce. They look absolutely delicious, and I can't wait to break into a bottle and try that with some type of vegetable or on rice, or I think it's going to be great. As usual, always write on top what it is that's inside of your jar, especially if you've got a lot of canning going on. You don't want to forget what's in that jar that you have. And write the year as well, because the year goes by fast and you want to make sure that you eat your food that you make within a reasonable amount of time. These will last stored in a cool, dry, dark environment for at least a year, and sometimes they can stretch a little bit longer. Leave them untouched for 24 hours, but once your 24 hours are up, you can remove the rings from on top of your jars. Never store your jars with your rings on. Make sure that your jars have sealed. So I hope you've enjoyed this content and my video. Don't be shy. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Check out my other content that I have on my channel, and I'll see you back here again soon. So So this beef recipe, I have some company. Hey, how are you? Enjoy it. It's a great, it's going to be great as a main meal, and also as well, okay, you got to get off my counter. I'm making today some beef in a red wine sauce. Just the sound of it sounds absolutely delicious, and it actually is. How's this called? Is to add the browning and seasoning sauce inside and to give it a stir.